Happy New Year! The Jets are in Seattle this afternoon. Mike White back in the saddle, and DJ Reed has returned to Seattle. Will the Jets do some New Year's celebrating later today? We're about to find out. For the Jets and the Seahawks, their playoff lives are on the line in the Pacific Northwest. Welcome into Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. I'm Eric Allen, joined in the studio by Quincy Anunwa. Momentarily, we'll also be joined by Anthony Becht, and Caroline Hendershot and Ethan Greenberg have boots on the ground there in Seattle. Quincy, Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year, man. Hopefully yours is good.
Yes, no doubt. Any resolutions before we start?
Jets playoff. That's what I'm hoping for. It may not be mine, but I'm hoping for a Jets playoff.
Okay, let's bring in Anthony Becht right now as we watch Mike White warm up. AB, Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year, guys. Great to be on, man. 2023 is upon us, and hey, we're back in the mix, right? So it's exciting time. We're watching these 1 o'clock games pretty closely.
That's right. We're going to be watching the games throughout here in the early window. And the game that matters the most to Mike White and the New York Jets, of course, is the New England Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Jets' path to the postseason is clear, gentlemen. The Jets have to win today in Seattle, then win next week in Miami, and they need New England either to lose or tie this afternoon against the Miami Dolphins or next week against the Buffalo Bills. Right now, that game is 7-7. Jets fans are in the unusual spot here, Quincy, of rooting for the Miami Dolphins. But listen, the Dolphins win today and the Jets win today. We'll know by about 7:30 Eastern time that next week everything's on the line for the Jets in Miami.
Yeah, and hopefully they, what do they call it, move our game to a later slot, because that'll be an important game. You know, I want to see the Jets really going into that last game with the fire, knowing that they can win this game and go into the playoffs.
Anthony, let's talk about Mike White returning to the lineup. What are your thoughts? Obviously cleared. He's cleared for contact. Has been out of the lineup the last couple games. What do you think about the opportunity at hand for the Jets quarterback?
And the best quarterback offensively for this team this season. He's been hungry to get on the field the last couple weeks. You know, he swears that he was able to go and be the guy the last couple weeks. But, of course, obviously getting cleared by doctors was the biggest decision mark. His health was big. But, you know, you see it right there, close to 1,000 yards in just a few games this season. And, you know, he does run this offense the best of the quarterback to this point. And it gives the Jets, I think, the best option as far as clarity on what they're doing. Seems like him and LaFleur are on the same page. And Mike's done a really good job getting the ball out of his hands to the receivers in the mix, in the progression that should be getting the ball. Limit the mistakes today. Again, winning the game is a premium. You know, we see those numbers. They're great to see. But at the end of the day, we have to have a clean game as far as no turnovers. If we do that and what Mike's done with his arm so far, moving the ball down the field, it should be enough for the Jets, and the defense has to show up like they've done every week.
Quincy, can White provide a much-needed spark for the Jets' offense?
Yeah, I think obviously with the 10 days off, I think the biggest thing will be just knowing that Mike White has had success with this offense. The guys will definitely rally around him. I say this every week, rallying around Mike White, but I think this will be an important week for them to do that. You know, they're going to know that if they can give Mike the confidence that he needs to perform, knowing that he has the guys' support, you know, he's going to play at a high level.
AB, we're getting out of the tunnel right now. So many interesting storylines with this game. It all starts with the quarterbacks, of course. Not only are the Jets reinserting Mike White back into the lineup, but they will see a former Jet in Geno Smith, who's had a career rebirth this season.
Yeah, fantastic season for Geno. Happy for him. Obviously, he's waited his turn to be in the forefront here, and the Seahawks have given him that opportunity. He's very close to being a 4,000-yard passer. He's been very good protecting the football. But I will say this, over the last few games, second half of the season, it's been a steady decline for the Seahawks. They're trying to find their way, you know, again, in their situation, trying to sneak into the playoffs as well. So, you know, as you look at this, both teams struggling, trying to find a big victory to really latch on. There is some momentum lift, like you talked about, with Mike White back in offense, and it does bring some more confidence around him as far as you talked about receivers, running backs. Biggest question mark, obviously, today is Mike White has to be very smart protecting his body. I know he likes to stand in the pocket, and that's great. Protection has to be a premium. Some sort of running game will only heighten what he can bring to the table today. It'll be great to see and interesting to see how that goes.
All right, we're going to get to that in just a second. Fans, here is your chance to participate in Pregame Central presented by Bud Light. Mike White will have more passing yards this afternoon than Geno Smith. You can vote now. You're going to see the results at the end of the program. Quincy, Anthony just hit the nail on the head. The Jets' run game, according to Robert Saleh, after the Jacksonville game, has been putrid of late. How can they get it going? How can White help the run game? Also, what do you want to see from the offensive line? And I thought it was very interesting, guys. Saturday afternoon, Chris Streveler elevated to the active roster again, Q.
Yeah, the folk hero Streveler is back up. I think, obviously implementing his few plays that he'll have will be helpful for the run game. It's been important. I think it's been important from the beginning of the year to keep that run game going. They just haven't been able to make it happen. Maybe bringing more tight ends into the game. We talked about it before the show. That could be a possibility. Just some way to bring more bulk onto the field to move the line of scrimmage. Too many times they're getting pushed back. You're not able to get any movement, and that's really important to create those holes for these running backs. You have talented running backs behind this offensive line, but they're just not getting the opportunities to make plays.
Good points there, Q. Anthony, are the Seahawks going to load the box? Because that's what we've been seeing from defenses of late against the Jets. But Mike White in the lineup. Second part of that is, with Streveler back in the lineup, when do you use that package, if indeed he is inactive, which we all anticipate? You don't elevate the guy unless he's going to be active. Do you use him inside the red zone?
Yeah, well, number one, no, I don't see the Seahawks loading the box. That they'll definitely have a respect for Mike White and his ability to pass the football. Too many good weapons at the receiver tight end position for this team right now for the Seahawks to think that they can do that, which, may lighten up the opportunity for them to actually get some rushing yards. This offensive line is going to be behind the eight ball a little bit. This is the 12th man. It's going to be loud. They must take this crowd out of it early. Even maybe, listen, defensive head coach, I get it, but maybe you take the ball first and try to put some points up and just kind of settle everything in that first quarter. And to your second part, from the Streveler package is concerned, listen, it's a nice little gimmick. I think to me, it's a red zone play, tight 10 yards and in. I just don't see him coming in the regular in between the 20s, quite frankly, wasting downs when they can load the box at that point. And, that passing part of it is there. So having that element to pass with Streveler is going to be key. But again, having a guy come off the bench cold, throwing the football, Streveler obviously had some success in the last game, but, the bulk of the offense wasn't really in for him to really succeed in a level from the passing side of it. So it's interesting to see how it used. I'd like to see them just run the ball naturally with their backs, roll your knuckles up and blow some people off the ball. And, even if you spread out this defense and try to run the ball in a 10 personnel where you're not loading up so many bodies in the box, with the guy that can pass, I think that could be helpful as well.
Let's go to Seattle right now and bring in Caroline Hendershot and Ethan Greenberg for Game Day Storylines presented by Bud Light. It looks gray there this morning. What is the weather report?
It is gray. We got the very familiar Seattle weather.
Not reflective of our mood, though.
Correct. We're very happy out here. It's gray, it's cloudy, it's pretty cold. But for as far as today goes, Ethan, both these teams are fighting for that playoff spot. They both sit at 7 and 8. But the future of both of these teams is so bright. Both of their rookie classes, outstanding. Headline 5, 2 rookie Pro Bowlers, Sauce Gardner and Tariq Woolen.
Both cornerbacks, and here's the fun part. Sauce Gardner's the 4th overall pick. He leads the NFL with 16 pass defenses. Tariq Woolen is a 5th-round pick who was at the Senior Bowl. He's tied for the NFL lead with 6 interceptions. But for both of these teams, it's more than just the headliners because there's depth throughout, no matter if they were a first-round pick or an undrafted free agent. There are 8 players in the NFL, Caroline, who have averaged 60 yards from scrimmage as a rookie. 4 of them are either a Jet or a Seahawk. Let's start with Garrett Wilson. He leads all rookies with 996 receiving yards. He needs 4 yards to become the first Jets receiver as a rookie in franchise history to reach that plateau. Kenneth Walker, the second-round pick of the Seattle Seahawks, he leads the NFL by rookies with 9 rushing touchdowns. He's also the Seahawks' leading rusher. That's 2 of them. The 2 other ones are both Jets, both running backs. Breece Hall, second-round pick, obviously won't play today, but the future is bright for him. And at that position, Zonovan Bam Knight, the undrafted free agent, is the 4th and final rookie on these 2 teams to average at least 60 scrimmage yards. So there's a good chance between everyone we just talked about, defense, offense, that the Offensive Rookie of the Year and the Defensive Rookie of the Year are on the field here in a couple hours.
It's going to be a great game.
Yeah, and how about this? Seattle could have a top 5 pick last year after the Russell Wilson trade, not because of their own pick, but because of the way Denver has faltered throughout this year. It's amazing. The future is bright for both these organizations. But enough about the rookies. Let's talk about a veteran, a guy who had a career breakthrough in Seattle, DJ Reed. Caroline, you had an opportunity to speak to him this week about going back to the Pacific Northwest.
I did, EA, and he said he was so excited to come back to Seattle because he spent 2 years here. He loved the organization, loved the fans, but he did say the biggest thing about Seattle is the noise in this stadium is so loud. He said it is the loudest stadium he has ever played in. From me to Ethan, he said it's going to be hard to hear that kind of distance between players. He also mentioned when I asked him, does preparing for Minnesota or Buffalo and playing in those type of loud environments during the season help you prepare for Seattle? He said nothing prepares you for Seattle. It is the loudest thing you will ever hear. So let's hope I can hear today. But yeah, he's excited to come back, but let's hope that the volume isn't too big of a problem for the Jets.
Well, for DJ Reed, luckily, you would think the 12th man here in Seattle would be a little more quiet when the defense is on the field because the Seahawks offense would be on the field. But for 3 former Seahawks who are all on the Jets offensive line, between Dwayne Brown, George Fant, and Cedric Ogbuehi, who was just activated off of injured reserve after missing 4 games with a groin injury, that's going to be the big challenge. The one thing about DJ Reed that I want to say, 1 Pro Bowl alternate, having a great year, but he has a tall test today if he sees DK Metcalf, because he called him a physical specimen. Metcalf, 6'4", 235 pounds. But I'm really interested, EA, to see how the Jets use DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner against Tyler Lockett, who seemingly will be in the lineup after missing just 1 game after undergoing hand surgery, and Metcalf, because Sauce Gardner has similar body type to DK Metcalf, and DJ Reed has a similar body type to Tyler Lockett. But the Jets really haven't done a whole lot of shadowing throughout the course of the season. That is something that I'm going to have my eye on.
All right, really quick before we let you all go, did you have any coffee this morning?
I did not have any coffee. I'm not a coffee guy, but I will say there is a brand that is known for Seattle. The first one ever was here. I'm not going to say the name of it, but they serve that brand in the press box. And I know Matt Sickoff is thanking me right now, also sitting on the edge of his seat, wondering if I would say it. But you know what? I will not. But here's the thing. I'm going to have a hot chocolate after this from the press box.
I had coffee yesterday, and let me tell you, it knocked my socks off. It was delicious. So.
All right, well, put your socks back on. We're going to see you all here in a couple moments. Good stuff. Let's shift into our Sunday spotlights here on Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Eric Allen, joined as always by Quincy Enunwa and Anthony Beck. AB, you are our leadoff hitter today.
Yeah, well, the Jets D-line, man, they should be salivating in this game. You look at Geno Smith, he's been sacked 39 times. That puts him in the top 5 most sacked quarterbacks in the league. And again, it's been a bit of a downturn on this team. If they can hold off the run and force Geno to make more passes, I think this D-line can feast today. And again, you talk about the opportunity, having that life now in the situation that they're in, where they could potentially, make that run still. This has got to be a huge opportunity for the D-line.
Yeah, we're watching Sheldon Rankins warm up right now. The guy he lines up next to, Quinnen Williams, 12 sacks this season, 12 tackles for loss, 24 quarterback hits, 44 quarterback pressures, and 4 pass defenses. Quinnen Williams was named the Jets team MVP on Friday. Also, the Jets have recorded 40 sacks this season, tied for 8th most in the National Football League. There is the Jets team MVP. He already got a Pro Bowl berth. He's the team MVP, and All-Pro should be on the horizon. How about you, Q? Where are you going for your Sunday spotlight?
Yeah, so my spotlight, I guess, is kind of like a bounce off of AB's, right? So he's talking about the D-line. I want to talk about Geno, one of my former teammates, a guy that's really playing confident football this year, a guy that has some weapons. Kenneth Walker, he's got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. He's really out there performing really well. But one thing, just like AB said, he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks out here. So it's going to be important for the Jets to make sure that they're bringing a lot of pressure against this guy. When I played with him, it was kind of the same story. He's able to make the plays while he's being pressured, but if you can get home on him, it definitely rattles him. It's going to make it a little bit more challenging for him. He's going to have to find his quick outlets. He's not going to be able to make those deep passes that he's really good at throwing. So this is going to be an important spotlight for the Jets.
All right, before we get to my spotlight, we're going to stay right there. Geno Smith drafted 39th overall by the Jets in 2013 out of West Virginia. Of course, AB made 30 starts for the New York Jets from 2013 through 16. He was 12-18 as a starter. Anthony, what do you think about that storyline of Geno? We touched upon it at the Open, and that's Q's spotlight. But what do you think is going through his mind right now after most people did write him off, but Geno Smith said, I didn't write back?
Yeah, he wants to put a dagger in the back of the Jets. I mean, he has an opportunity to basically end the Jets playoff, an opportunity, whatever you want to call it. This is a huge game for him internally, whether he's been talking about it much or not in the media. Trust me, when you get to play against your team, former team that drafted you, team that, quite frankly, thought that you were going to rise them up from the ashes and be that guy, and then ultimately you're not there, kicked to the curb, you're better to go elsewhere. Now he gets his chance. There's a lot riding on the line. I think, and I think that brings a little bit of pressure, a little bit more of, is he going to try to do a little too much in this game? So it could work both ways, really, on how he goes out there and plays. But quite frankly, one thing, he wants this bad. It's not a conference game for them, but he wants to get back at the Jets best way possible internally. He's going to try to give his best effort.
Quinnen Williams is going to make sure that Geno Smith does not have anywhere to step up in the middle. It's going to be interesting to watch the Seahawks, how they try to attack this Jets defense that has been good throughout the season. Jacksonville caught them with some things last game, but the Jets have had 10 days to prepare for the Seahawks today. My Sunday spotlight is a guy that we've talked about here early on Pregame Central. That's Tariq Woolen. He is a physical freak. Talk about DK Metcalf being a freak. This guy's another specimen. 6'4", 205, and he's jogging right now. He's a 4.2 guy. His closing speed is incredible. So when you are open against Woolen, are you really open? 6 interceptions so far this season. 2 fumble recoveries. 1 forced fumble. Who is going to be lining up most against Woolen today? And it's going to be fascinating to watch Mike White, because Quincy and I were talking about this as we got going here this morning, is that this guy, Q, tremendous closing speed. So what would you say as far as a receiver if you were going against a guy like that?
I mean, it's tough because, honestly, you can only do so much as a receiver. It's really on the quarterback to place the ball in the right spot. There's a few plays. One in particular was the one against the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes had Jay Watson open over the middle, and you saw Tariq Woolen's closing speed. He came in and knocked the ball away, and if it would have been thrown a little bit earlier and maybe more in front of him, that could have been a touchdown. But you're talking about a guy, 4.2 speed. He's just incredible. He's very similar to Sauce in that way. Obviously, this guy is probably a little faster than Sauce, but they have similar qualities. This is a guy that's going to make sure that even when he's out of position, he's going to still find a way to make the play.
Robert Saleh was a Seattle Seahawks defensive assistant under Pete Carroll from 2011 through 2013. He actually won a ring with the Seattle Seahawks after they took down the Denver Broncos at MetLife Stadium. For more on his relationship with Pete Carroll, here's this right now.
I think in all of us, if you're in professional, if you're in sports, period, really in life, if you're trying to be the best, your personal best every single day, then you have a competitive drive to you that really can't be explained. You know, it's you just want to compete in everything you do, and so, you know, Pete, you know, that's his whole mantra: always compete. It's under the scoreboards, and you know, and not that that part necessarily rubbed off, because there's a lot of other things, but I just think if you talk to these athletes, you talk to coaches, you talk to, I'm sure, yourself. I'm sure you're trying to compete to have the best interview possible, you know, so it's inherent in a lot of people, and the bigger the drive to compete, the more success you probably will have.
Jets Game Day airs weekly at 7:30 on WCBS2, and the archive's available right now on NewYorkJets.com and our YouTube page. There is the AFC standings heading into today's ball games. The Jets, of course, 7-8. The Patriots 7-8. You got the Dolphins there, 8-7. This is do or die time for the green and white. Bottom line, Quincy, because the Jets have to win today, and then obviously have to win next week, and they do need some help from the Patriots, either a loss or a tie today against the Miami Dolphins, or a loss or a tie next week against the Buffalo Bills. We've been paying a little bit of attention to that Dolphins-Patriots game early. Jets would love a little bit of help from former Jets quarterback Teddy Bridgewater.
Definitely. I think it's really important for the Jets to kind of mind their own in this situation, though. It's really easy to think, okay, let's hope this team wins, let's hope this team wins. But the Jets have two challenging games coming up, right? So they need to make sure that they're winning these two games, and then they can hope that these other teams help them. Because if they're worried about these other teams and not worrying about what's on their plate, it's going to be, their opportunity is going to be gone.
He's right, Anthony. No doubt about that. And the Jets were 7-4 a few weeks ago. Had a 2nd and 1 at the Vikings 1-yard line, and it feels like a lifetime ago. With all that being said, what do you think about the path in front of this team? How realistic it is for the Jets to get into the playoffs for the first time since 2010?
Yeah, realistically, I think it's great. I mean, again, going out, regardless, honestly, what the Patriots do today, because if the Patriots win, they still got to go against a team, quite frankly, Buffalo, that's going to have to play probably hard in their last game, fighting for a potential bye or whatever situation they may be in. So, again, you know, you really hypothetically don't have to look at the scoreboard, but if you can get the Patriots to lose today and you find a way to win this game, you know, like Quincy was saying earlier, man, that becomes a primetime matchup. Winner take all, last spot. I mean, how cool would that be? Right. Just a great opportunity for this team. But they have to find a way. These situations, you saw them in the previous game not take advantage of a situation when they knew it was a premium opportunity. Now they get that learning experience. They come back. Here you are now. Okay, Mike White's back. Okay, you feel better, a little more confident offensively. Defensively, you're pretty much healthy. You know, you got players coming back defensively. Here you go now. You're back in the same situation. Can you rise up, move away from the past? And none of these players have been around long enough to really fight those demons, but for this organization to take those steps, winning these last two games, regardless if they get in or not, would be a huge leap and bound for this organization moving forward.
Speaking of rookies, Elijah Moore, the Jets slot receiver, is probably going to see a lot of Sauce Gardner's former teammate at college. Of course, that is Kobe Bryant. Let's flash up the Seahawks' path to the postseason. The Jets, of course, we've been talking about how this is do or die for them. This is do or die for the Seattle Seahawks as well. The Jets will be eliminated if they do lose today. So they have no path if they do lose today. The Seahawks have to win their final two games against the Jets and the LA Rams, and then get some help with either a Washington loss again in their next two games and a Green Bay loss in their next two games. So Seattle hanging on to playoff hopes themselves, but they need a loss from Washington and Green Bay over the next 2 weeks, and they got to win their final two games against the Green and White. Of course, it is the Jets and the Seahawks. It's a late afternoon start here, Eastern Standard Time, but for those in the West Coast, like Ethan and Caroline, It's still morning there. Let's get to our X Factors and go out west right now. We're going to start with you, Caroline.
My X Factor for today is no other than Quinnen Williams. I mean, the presence that he has on the field and with this defense is compared to none. Leading the team and very high up on the rankings with 12 sacks. He popped out last game right from the jump, got the sack on Trevor Lawrence. So I think the tone that he sets today is not only important, but just always reliable, and he's obviously my X Factor.
He's having a huge year. How about you, Ethan?
Yeah, I'm going to go with somebody that I feel like no one's really talked about throughout the course of this week. It's Seahawks linebacker Uchenna Nwosu, who leads the team with 9 sacks, and he's had 3 double-digit sack games. And this is a Pro Bowl alternate, but it feels like no one's really talking about him. And he's going up against the Jets' offensive line that's allowed 11 sacks over its last 3 games. And, of course, you think about Mike White back in the lineup. Ian Rappaport reported that he's wearing military-grade protection around the ribs today. And, of course, that's going to be a big storyline for Mike White and the Jets' offensive line to stop the Seahawks pass rush led by Nwosu.
I think you just wanted to drop that name. And also, it looks like you're wearing military-type protection around your ribs as well, Ethan.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't bring a coat, and I figured that the vest was the next best thing. And plus, if someone decides to hit me, I'm all set now with the light vest. So it's dual purpose, and I'm all about it.
Okay, you might want to wear that tomorrow in Florida Park. All right, Anthony, how about your X Factor?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker in this game. We keep talking about Geno and the way he's passed the ball, but quite frankly, the success of this team in their wins has been a strong running game. And Kenneth Walker's coming off 107 yards last week in a loss. And you expect a heavy dose. I mean, you're talking about December, January games. It's colder, trying to set the bar. If they can get some type of play action game, you talk about Lockett back. Those things will help Geno be more successful. You make this team one-sided, that's where you start seeing sacks and some opportunities for the Jets defense. So stopping, containing Kenneth Walker early in this football game, I think goes a long way in winning.
Yeah, they call him K9, and he had more than 100 yards on the ground last week against the Kansas City Chiefs, and that offense looks a lot different when Walker is gone. Geno Smith, very effective in a play-action game. One guy who has his sights set on Geno Smith today, that, of course, is John Franklin Myers, who can bring it off the edge or shift inside in those clear passing situations. Let's go over to you, Quincy, right now, an X Factor.
Yeah, so my X Factor is going to be another Seahawk. This time I'm going with, excuse me, how did I forget his name already?
No, that's fine. I'm going to help you out. Tyler
Lockett. Excuse me, Tyler Lockett. And I want to point out one thing. He's got the receiver coach of Geno's former, and when Geno was with the Jets, that's Sanjay Law.
Sanjay, yeah.
Oh, my mind is crazy right now. Sanjay Law was the receiver coach for the Jets when Geno was there. So he has somebody that's familiar. He has somebody that can tell the receivers exactly how Geno likes routes to be ran, where he likes them to be. It's become so fruitful for this offense. You got 2,000-yard receivers for Geno to throw the ball to. So look for Tyler Lockett to perform well today.
What do you think about Lockett coming off a hand surgery just a couple of weeks ago? How difficult would that be for a receiver?
It's going to be a big challenge, and he's going against a talented defense. So instead of saying look for him to perform well, look for him to be somebody that can be an X factor and possibly change the game for this team.
There's DJ Reed. We're seeing a couple minutes ago we saw that was Elijah Moore making a couple one-handed catches out there. You know DJ Reed is just chomping at the bit to get after his former teammates. Back in Seattle, a lot of great memories there. Experienced a career breakthrough with the Seahawks, and then Joe Douglas did a fine job in free agency getting Reed. He was a Pro Bowl snub. I consider the Jets having 5 Pro Bowlers. There's Quincy Williams getting warmed up as well. My X Factor, I'm going to go with a Jets running back. That's Bam Knight, Zonovan Bam Knight. For the Jets to be effective offensively, we talked about Mike White being back in the lineup. There's a guy who I think is going to post some good numbers today. That's Elijah Moore. But I'm really watching Bam Knight. Can the Jets run the ball at the Seahawks? Because they're going to have to. You got to have some kind of balance offensively. Remember, the last time out we saw the Jets, I believe they had 4 carries in the first half. I don't anticipate that at all today. In fact, I do believe The Jets are going to have some big formations here this week against the Seattle Seahawks. Matthew Sikoff is telling me right now it's time for all in or not today. I'm going to tell Sikoff, hey, you got to give us a score update with the Dolphins and the Patriots. Is it still 7-7? It's still 7-7 at halftime. Okay, so here we go. All in or not today. We have everybody joining us right now. We're about 90 minutes from kickoff in Seattle. But it is time for us to crown a regular season champion, Quincy Enunwa. Quincy Enunwa, 11-4. Applause, everyone.
The rookie and the champ, baby.
Okay, before we hear from our champ, before we hear from our champ, let's check this out.
Uh-oh.
Elijah Moore will have more receiving yards than Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I mean, I love the Jets corners against the Browns receivers.
Corey Davis, he's been outstanding for the Jets. 17 receptions, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns. Today, he will have a reception of 20-plus yards for a 5th consecutive game.
Yeah, so I'm going to go all in, and this is why.
Elijah Moore has 18 catches this season. He will score a touchdown today against Chicago.
But I think I'm going to go all in on this one.
Okay, we got to get some reactions before we have a speech from the champ. Real quick, we'll start with Caroline.
Let me just say, I guess I'm also a fellow rookie in this all in or not today, my first full season. You just absolutely wiped the floor with me, Quincy. It was not fair. You never gave me a fighting chance, but props to you. Gotta call a spade a spade.
Ethan?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just going to give credit where credit's due. Q, congratulations. I know Beck wishes that he was in your seat, but alas, he is not, and you got to tip your cap, and that's all I have to say.
Hey, Beck, you have a lot of things going for you in your life. A tremendous family. You're the head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks in the XFL. You have so many friends throughout this league. Are you doing okay today, though, because you're so competitive?
Yeah, listen, if I had a cap, I'd tip it. I don't. My hands are a little sore, so I can't really clap for them right now. But, yeah, look, I'd say beginner luck, too, but Caroline didn't do anything in her rookie season. So,
The shots. The strays.
You find a shoehorn, a horseshoe, and you win one. So congrats, Q. Well done. I'm still above water, which is good. Can't speak for everybody, but me and you are above water, so we can, team up on that one.
All right, so right on cue. This really sets me up for our next transition because we actually have a video dedicated to you, Anthony. Let's check it out.
Oh, yeah.
You remember Anthony Beck?
Yeah, the old Jets tight end.
Yeah, absolute savage, a beast.
Great player.
A monster.
Yeah, I think he had like 21 career touchdowns or something.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah, but I did hear something about his pick'ems, or he's came in second place again.
Second place?
Yeah, second place.
Talk about first loser?
First loser.
Oh
first
my
loser.
gosh, what are we doing?
Great career, second place though, man.
Second place, first loser. You heard it from Jets tight ends Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzama. People are watching. They have kept the receipts, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm looking for a better record in my coaching career, so we'll see how it goes.
All right. With that being said, it is time for All In or Not Today, 2023 style. Let's get it up there. We're going to start, as always, on the road with Caroline's All In or Not Today. Garrett Wilson will have more receiving yards than DK Metcalf.
Well, everyone, it might be a new year, but it's the same old me. So obviously, I'm going all in. But I do have to just add that I believe that Garrett Wilson, when the lights shine the brightest, that's when he excels the most. And I think you saw that in the Minnesota game where he really excelled. And so I'm looking for that again today. Mike White's back in the mix. He and Mike White had a lot of good connections in Minnesota, so I'm looking for him to have a stellar and phenomenal game today.
All right, beautiful. You stay on point there, Caroline. I like it. All right, so Ethan, Jets offense will score 2+ touchdowns, and they will have 21+ points. In fact, I thought it was 25+ points, but somebody moved that. But fine, we'll go 21+ points. What do you say?
I'm going to go all in on this one. And I know the numbers don't really back me up here in terms of what the Jets have done recently, but I think that the Jets are kind of due, coming off 10 days rest, Mike White back in the lineup. The Jets really do have a clear shot at the playoffs. The path is crystal clear. It starts today. I think the Jets know what they need to do to get to where they want to go. And with Mike White back in the lineup, I think that the Jets will score 2+ touchdowns and get to the 21-point mark.
All right, splendid job by you both. Quincy, the Jets will have 3 or more sacks.
Yep. So I didn't get to give a speech, so I'm just going to crown myself really quick and, celebrate my win for this year.
Oh, I was going to get to it at the end. Yeah.
But I'm going to go all in on the Jets will have 3+ sacks. Gino's been sacked. He's the 5th most sacked quarterback in the league. He got sacked 4 times against the Rams. I think the Jets' D-line is definitely going to get home and win this for me.
Geno Smith will have less than 240 yards passing against that sticky Jets secondary led by that man, Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I'm all in here. I think that's going to happen today. Listen, I'm still shooting for double-digit wins. I know it's my last show, but I will send a ghost pick in next week to cap off the season. So, listen, I like it. All in.
Okay, mine is somebody other than Kenneth Walker. K9 will lead the Jets and Seahawks in rushing yards. I'm going to go not today. I think he's going to get a lot of attempts. And Walker's an impressive player. I think the Jets will contain him, but he's going to get his yards. So I'll go not today. Let's check in on the fans right now. Mike White will throw out for more passing yards than former Jets quarterback Geno Smith. Fans vote about 85% to 15% saying yes. A couple good points out there because fans are saying that, hey, listen, you want a balanced attack, and Geno Smith might be getting those yards accumulation late in the game when the Jets are hopefully ahead. But we'll have to see how this one plays out. Let's go right back to Seattle, and Ethan's got today's inactives.
All right, here we go, EA. The inactives for today: quarterback Zach Wilson, running back James Robinson, tight end Jeremy Ruckert, defensive end Vinnie Curry, cornerback Brandon Echols, and a bit of a surprise here at right guard, Nate Herbig, one of the inactives for the New York Jets.
Okay, hold on. So we got Ethan here. Who's going to start, do you think, at right guard?
That's a good question. My gut would say Dan Feeney, because when Dan Feeney has been the next guy up at guard, and he's the backup center too. So I would imagine that he would be in right guard for Nate Herbig. I don't know for sure, but when you take a look at the roster and who's up, no offensive lineman practice squad call-ups either. So my gut would tell me Dan Feeney, because he's played guard this season for Nate Herbig in New England as well.
All right, tremendous. Great stuff from you guys out there today. Have a great afternoon in Seattle. Quincy, as we look at, I believe that's C.J. Mosley stretching out there. Any final words from the champ? Because you've been on it all year. What do you expect from the Jets today?
So I'm looking for them to get a win. I mean, it's easy to say if they hit all these markers, they're going to get the win. But I think the Jets know how important this game is going to be. They know what's at stake. They know what they put into this season from the preseason, from training camp, all the way till now. And I don't think they're going to allow themselves to give up this game.
All right. Enjoy the game, everybody. Hopefully the Jets get a good outcome here in the 1 o'clock window. The Miami Dolphins tied with the Patriots at halftime. If the Dolphins do win that game, the Jets will control their own destiny. It would mean 2 wins, but that starts this afternoon in Seattle. Going to be an interesting game between 2 desperate teams. Will the Jets be celebrating on New Year's Day? We're about to find out. Come back for Jets overtime after this one. We're signing off.